Whenever we would engage with an external expert on change management, it was like a pattern. They would treat change like the grieving process, where you have to go through this valley and then accept it and then finally kind of learn to love it. And it was this curve that always went down, back up, and then like stabilized. And I'm like, well, there's just has to be a different way. Change isn't always portrayed badly, So we were going for more of a slow progression up in engagement, but then a sustained engagement in the way that we were changing things. Because the other pattern we saw is like, there'd be a big boost, a big launch, and then people would revert to their old ways eventually. Those habits would kick back in, and then you'd have to do another boost. And so here we really tried to change our programming to have that sustained change curve. And the way that we did it was like 100% just focusing on how people felt.
Hey, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
I know, that wake you up there? You're like, hey, that was like...
A little, yeah.
Where are you joining us from in the world?
Dallas, Texas.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is it like super hot? I can't think of Texas without just not thinking of really crazy heat. Yeah.
I mean, it's walking on the sun light at the moment. It's been worse, we'll say. So.
What did you just say? Walking on the sun.
Yes. I mean, it's like, and we live in just this concrete wasteland, right? So everything is just extra hot.
I see. You can't walk barefoot on the pavement then? Or anything, basically.
Yeah, just your grass. Grass is still okay if it's not fried.
I made that mistake in Vegas one year. Like I went to a conference and I went to like one of the pools and I walked out with barefoot, no flip-flops, and immediately had to sprint back in. And everyone was staring at me like, yeah, the new guy, he doesn't get it. I was like, we've never had that type of heat in the UK where you can't walk on the floor as well. Yeah. How was your summer?
Oh, it was good. We took some time off. We visited Honduras for the first time. So we were beautiful South America, really, really pretty island. They have the second biggest barrier reef in the world.
Wow.
Yes, we did a lot of great snorkeling and night snorkeling, which was a first for me.
Snorkeling.
Terrifying.
How about to say? I mean, yeah. Is that because you see different types? You see the coral glow and like the different types of creatures. I mean, animals.
You see all the critters that don't come out during the day.
Yeah,
an octopus. The squids, eels, those kinds of dudes that hide during the day. But it was terrifying. I mean, you're in the dark. It's warm water. You can't have you have all these like pictures of sharks, but really it was just counting all of my children, making sure that
you did that at night with your children. I mean, I mean, your risk tolerance is higher than mine.
It was storming, so it's raining sideways. We should not have been in the water.
That's like,
back, but it was very memorable.
You could be like, how to lose a child. And it's like, was it worth it though? Was it worth it?
Yeah, no, it was super cool.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I remember when I first went to the Caribbean and like just jumped in and just started snorkeling, just being like, this is insane how clear the water is. It doesn't seem real. You're like, this is just unbelievable. Like I can just see and swim around and like, it's like it's so cool. Like when you come from a country like in the UK, you can't see anything in any water, obviously. So when you first go there, it's kind of like takes you back for a second to be like, wow, like this is unbelievable. Especially to see a reef like that. That's kind of that's like one of my bucket lists to go and see like a reef like that. That's just especially
it was really cool.
Especially as like so many have been like destroyed. Let's not even get into that. That's a whole nother show.
You could see certain parts of it wasn't as healthy, but it's still really pretty and vibrant in most areas.
Nice. That must have been an incredible experience and memory for the kids to remember as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Tell everyone a little bit more. Obviously, we spoke about the family and stuff, but about your background and your journey to where we are now. Did you choose this kind of career, or did it kind of choose you along the way?
Well, I think I'm defining my career, honestly, but no, HR definitely chose me. I went to school for supply chain management.
Oh
So a little
wow.
bit removed from, human resources topics. But what was funny is like all these moments in my career, there was always a mentor, like a key person in my life at that time at work who would, unrelated ask me, hey, have you ever considered HR? Have you ever considered going to HR? Maybe you should try HR. And then 10 years into the career, I was like, okay,
Why do you think they
I'll
kept
do it.
saying that? Why do
Well,
you think that kept coming up?
I think it was, I had a knack for like connecting operational or financial topics to a language that people understood. And then like, the aligning people to move towards action. So I think that was where it was coming from. But even like in my internship, I interned with a company for 3 years. I was all set to sign, with them to go full time after college. It was a logistics position. And then last second, they were like, oh, we really want to put you in HR.
Really?
And I was like,
That's meant to be. That's crazy.
no. The only thing I knew about
What
HR
what
at the
what was your
time,
perception of HR? That's a good question.
it was
Yeah.
Toby from The Office was my perception from HR. So from US office, whatever the UK equivalent is.
We know. Yeah.
But yeah, it was Toby. And I was like, that's not me. I didn't go to school for this, but what do you know when you're 20 years old?
Yeah.
But eventually I found my way through finance and total rewards, and then did, business partnering. And I really loved just the dynamic nature of HR and how every day was different. And there
Yeah.
wasn't like a routine necessarily.
Yeah. They finally won you over.
I did, but I did have to take a break from it. I mean, it's an emotionally exhausting function to be in, depending on the company and the climate. So I did step away for a little bit, but eventually found my way back.
Yeah. Why do you think, because I hear that a lot in private, right? Why do you think that we don't talk about that? You don't hear much about that on social media or in the HR publications or actually, in fact, on many podcasts. Like, we all know it's happening, and we all, you have networks, I have networks, we see it, but we don't talk about this topic. It's like, why is that?
I think it's, there's a little bit of like trying to protect others. I think that people who naturally gravitate towards this work don't want to impose their feelings about, something negative on others. So I think, keeping it within like the HR family privately, you vent to each other.
Yeah.
And then I think a lot of it is just, that saying about the cobbler's kids not having shoes. Like, you just never take care of yourself because you're constantly worrying about others.
Yeah,
and then you get to that point of burnout where now it's too late.
I had like one of our virtual like live streams we do every other week, and we had like 800 global wellbeing leaders, like heads of global wellbeing. They're the worst. How ironic. Like, literally, we're on the call talking about some of the biggest challenges, and what we nailed down is the challenge of them taking care of themselves. And like, you're literally the globe of the wellbeing. So how can you be seen to be, you kind of always got to be a shining example, right? So you can't be,
Right.
off sick or having struggles with your mental health, or it's like it puts like an unintended consequence of the role is putting so much pressure on yourself to be seen as
Absolutely.
This example as well. So that was interesting.
But if you're smart, if you're like job searching or understanding companies, looking at that HR turnover, I think is your indicator of like the health of the culture.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
What, just by
usually, I mean, if
and you could
HR tolerates a lot, right?
Yeah.
They take and take and take.
So if you see
then,
that as a good indicator, then it's something interesting. I never even thought about it. And you can see that on LinkedIn. Pretty much, and you can put most of the analytics on there. I never thought about that as an indicator. Like, regardless of what role you're going for, looking at the HR's tolerance and turnover is a very clear. Like, are you actually living your values? Are these just tick the box exercises? You will see that, right? Very clearly, right? If you see the turnover, that's a new one. That's a really good insight, actually, for everyone. So tell everyone about your current role that you do now.
Yeah, so I get to serve as the global head of talent acquisition for Hilti Group. So I'm in charge of an organization that is spread out all over the world. We're about 250 people. And we have a big challenge ahead of us with our company strategy evolving, where we need to hire 55,000 people in 6 years. And for a company of 34,000 currently, it's quite the challenge. And
Sorry, how
I
many
was brought into the
how many
role,
did you say again that you have to hire?
55,000.
Of skilled,
Yeah.
and that's a shrinking talent pool, from my understanding.
Right. So, well, we don't just recruit from construction, because we support the construction industry. We don't
Yeah.
necessarily do the construction ourselves. So,
Hmm.
we're taking from all sorts of other industries,
Okay.
pharma, consulting, et cetera. But it's not like the talent pool is gigantic for anyone at the
They're
moment.
all going after the same talent. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and it makes it harder for us because we don't have the same brand recognition, employer brand wise, even though we were number 3 in the world by Great Place to Work, just saying.
It's a very well-known brand, like in the UK.
Yeah, in Europe for sure. We have better brand
Oh, do
awareness.
you? Okay. I mean,
If you go
yeah.
Asia and Americas, it's still
Okay.
pretty, people think I work for Hilton hotels.
But if like you made a spelling mistake on your LinkedIn.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, or it's like a slang word for Hilton, like Hilti,
Yeah.
As well. Oh, sorry. Carry on.
No, I was just going to say just the challenge ahead of us and a little bit of what we're working on. But yeah, we have this big volume hiring play. But with that, we are also changing the profile of who we hire based on the business strategy changing. And that for the last 3 years has kicked off this whole TA transformation, which there isn't anything in TA that we're not lifting and tooling and changing for Hilti. So it's been an extremely busy time to be in TA at Hilti, but a really phenomenal time because you have the attention of, senior leaders who understand the value of TA. And so getting the resourcing to do the transformation has been an easier road, I think, than most have.
We should do like easier like this.
Yeah, it's easy in quotes because it's still incredibly hard.
Yeah, I want to be clear on that for anyone listening. No, yeah, actually, by the way, no one listening saw that. I did like air quotes. Yeah, exactly. Eat transformation easy. What? What's? I mean, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, because it was just super interesting, is you mentioned before, like, how can leaders reframe change management, which is what you're going through right now.
Yeah.
With courage, candor, and a real plan, without falling into the trap of like, oh, this is just, feel good vibes, strategies. Yeah. It's soft. And I think that's something we haven't really spoken a lot about on the show, and I wanted to get your thoughts on.
Yeah. I have learned so much about people going through change in the last couple of years. And the first thing I noticed was, whenever we would engage with an external expert on change management, it was like a pattern. They would treat change like the grieving process, where you have to go through this valley and then accept it and then finally kind of learn to love it. And it was this curve that always went down, back up, and then like stabilized. And I'm like, well, there's just has to be a different way. Like, change isn't always portrayed badly, So we were going for more of a slow progression up in engagement, but then a sustained engagement in the way that we were changing things. Because the other pattern we saw is like, there'd be a big boost, a big launch, and then people would revert to their old ways eventually. Those habits would kick back in, and then you'd have to do another boost. And so here we really tried to change our programming to have that sustained change curve. And the way that we did it was like 100% just focusing on how people felt. And that was hard to push, I will say, or to sell.
I can imagine.
Because it's, there's not a KPI that I can put on that. But I think everybody can come along with like, if you feel good about what you're doing, if you're engaged and if you're happy, the results take care of themselves. Like you don't have to steer hard at that point. And if you're hiring the right people to begin with, that you trust with the change and you trust, to bring themselves to work, then, we don't need this like top down SOP way of handling change management.
Yeah.
So, the way that we started doing it was, I mean, it's so silly, but I with my team, I was creating these like maybe 60-second videos where like something you'd see on TikTok. It was raw, like really rough. We made a rule where like you can't spend more than 20 minutes filming and editing, and that's it. And so they were just very casual. We all looked like idiots in them. We were having fun. We were demonstrating like things that were changing in bite-sized pieces just to get them like to come along with it. And then eventually we move into something a little bit more formal, like, okay, how you actually now will do your job. But just incorporating elements of fun and then understanding like what's sticky for people. So it was tapping more into like psychology of people and like, again, how do you keep them happy through this? So it's not just a big launch and then we all revert back to what we were doing before.
I love that.
So we put our limited TA budget, I would say 80% of it into people, like people development, events, these things called readiness labs that we created. And we just gave it a go because it was untraditional and like untested, especially at our organization. But it seems to be working for us.
The thing is, right, firstly, I love that you did that, but it is tested because that's how normal human beings talk to each other and interact outside the office.
100%.
Right? I don't
know why we believe like we move into corporate world and all of a sudden all these things don't apply.
Yeah. If you send a voice note or a video to your friend, you're not editing it. You're not getting, I've even got perfect lighting, right? Like like it's the same way I always try when guests try and over prepare for this podcast. I say, hey, when you call your friend, do you have a list of bullet points and questions? Like, let's have a conversation, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what you're doing. You're being authentic. It's not I mean, yes, you have some sort of script, but it's not like it could be a selfie on a mobile, right? And they feel more, that feels more engaging and more natural for them because that's how they consume every day, right? With their friends and family and the influencers they watch on YouTube and TikTok, right?
Absolutely.
So they're going to connect and there's no BS. It's just, and by the way, you can still have hard conversations and share announcements that are not, that's not great news, but it's still going to come across in an authentic way. And it's not going to break the budget and break the bank, right? Like people doing these overly produced content and spending tons of money where it just doesn't connect, right? So I love that you did that first and foremost. How did you, what did that look like in terms of like, was that like through like Slack or Teams channels? Like, was it email? Like how did you make sure that messaging reached people and showed up where they work?
Yeah. A couple of channels. So another thing we learned is like we can't rely on a single channel. And some people like to listen, some people like to watch, and some people like to read. And so we had to make offerings for all of those personas one way or another, of the same quality too. So we were reaching them, in email where we would basically be, having an engaging but short text for people of like your needs to know, and then the video if you wanted to click on it. It became like this tradition though, like every Friday we dripped a video, and so people were like anticipating the next thing, and then we started featuring people from different corners of the world. People volunteered to do them for us, which was like a giant relief. That email, and then we would put things on Teams
nice.
Also because again, we had this 50-50 split of where people spent their time. Nice. But they were all digital because the team is spread throughout the globe.
Yeah. Have you continued that? Is that now just become, because you kind of, that shapes your culture, right? And the trust.
Yeah, absolutely. We have continued it. The, the silly drip videos have ramped down, and now we're more into, let me just back up. We're replacing our ATS. So it's like, okay, now we need to tell you things, how to actually do your job. Yeah. So before we were just releasing like, here are some cool features that we're putting in and things that you can get excited about in the 13 weeks where we're like really designing things and not everybody's a part of that conversation. It made them feel like they were part of it. Then now it's, okay, we're moving to a cadence of every 2 weeks. It's, there's a video, but it's more informative and less entertaining, we'll say.
Yeah.
But it's still authentic. Like, I don't want shiny.
No.
especially if it's like a one-time use, just get it out there, put yourself on it. I put myself with like crazy hair, no makeup, and just get out there, with my chickens,
Yeah.
using my kids' toys, it made it more real for everybody. But we do still continue it. And now the cadence is it's on Tuesdays instead of Fridays.
Nice. I know you're still on the journey, right? There's no destination to this. It's ongoing work. But what are some of the key lessons that you've learned that you could share everyone listening, especially around sort of mindset shifts? And because the technology really is the easy part. It's the mindset shift and the culture transformation from me doing 1,500 episodes of this podcast that seems to be the real challenge along the way.
Yes. Yeah, I think, the first thing we had to admit and get on the same page was like the tech is not going to change anything for us, because we can pollute this new system with bad data as easily as we did the first, made the reason now for the second. So we kept it very behavior based. And this was something, again, that we ramped up through other transformation initiatives, like for the last 3 years. So we knew we were headed towards this like technology upgrade. But if we didn't have certain behaviors in place and like running and habits 2 years before that, then this would just become another like dumping ground, right? Like we would lose the value of the initiative. So like lessons learned, I would say, is the biggest one for me is the people have to be at the center of the change, and keeping that, you can't keep people overinformed. There are so many questions, and spending time answering every single one, no matter how detailed, creates that trust, creates the openness, of culture. And there are some things like we just simply didn't know how to answer. And I heard this feedback many times that saying we didn't know was actually a trust builder because it wasn't like we were hiding or we were saying we had everything figured out. It was
also,
like,
but people make stuff up in their head, right? If you don't say that, they will make their own rationale
exactly
of what that may be. Yeah.
So the answer was like, it's too soon to make a decision on that. And would you like to be part of that solution, and bringing people into little decisions that actually are going to affect them, because I'm not working in our system. I'm not recruiting day to day. They are. So at the end of the day, it's their experience that really matters above everything else. So we kept it fun. We made everything. I think it's my astrological sign that like makes me want things to be aesthetically pleasing. So everything had to just be like beautiful and pleasant to look at.
How did you said you like wanted to prepare and shift the few years before. What did that look like? Was that like workshops, training? Like what practically did that look like?
Yeah. So we broke things up into 3 phases, we'll say, and each are about a year. And it's not like we finished the year and it's done. Like there's continuous improvement efforts, each one. But the first thing we did was working on our structure, which is like, I guess, the most boring part of it, but it's like the foundation that if you don't have, you can't do the rest. Mm-hmm. So centralizing our TA teams, because we were all over the place, and people were also doing HRBP duties. They were employee relations. So now, we have a centralized TA team. We segmented them. We added sourcing as a capability that really wasn't there before. And then we started working on our processes, and that's where you uncover so much. We say we are a global organization, but it's like you have 12 mini companies in one. Yeah,
silos.
Everybody has preferences. And the hardest piece was agreeing on a global standard, and not one that was going to be so diluted with people's preferences that it became a huge mess. But like we started from scratch, and we were like, if you were building this, we're like, doesn't matter what you're doing right now or what you're used to. If you were building like this with your like logical brain and the candidate experience as your first thing that you're thinking about, like how would you build these processes? And getting people involved from different corners of the world. I learned a lot about compliance law, number one, but also just the different like markets and the candidate expectations. And it's really hard to maintain a global standard for talent acquisition because you have so many little local nuances that's what makes like the candidate experience special.
Yeah.
So you don't want to take away that stuff. but you need some degree of standardization to set people free to be able to do that kind of stuff. Otherwise, it's just like Band-Aid on Band-Aid.
One of the other interesting things that we spoke about before is that the mindset shift of your team needs to change, right? To more of a product team. And I was just interested to understand like how that's sort of changed your approach as operating as more of with a product lens, through a product lens, if that makes sense.
It does. Yeah. I mean, so the first thing I did when I took the job, because I'll be honest, I had no TA experience, none. I've never worked in TA.
Well, and you came straight into this transformation.
Yeah. Like I've never worked in TA outside of hiring people.
Oh my God.
Which I know that most hiring managers think they're an expert in TA because they've hired people. I did not feel like that coming into the job. So first thing I asked for was like, hey, can I see, like our candidate journey maps or some kind of candidate experience flow? And they're like, we don't have that. It's like, interesting. Tell me more, so just digging into how the candidate, and it's nothing like on purpose, it just always fell off of the watch list. And it was more about setting up the processes internally for us and our experience. So the way a product team works is, they go through design thinking workshops to think about and put themselves in the shoes of their customers. So we did the same thing. So we did a lot of empathy mapping of our different personas. We went through and we mapped like the experience and how long we wanted it to take and what do we want it to actually feel like. So it's not just about speed, but what would set us apart. And we landed on this mantra of we want the candidates to benefit from being in a Hilti process, whether or not they get the job. So I think, when you have that kind of North Star, you start to put on a more customer focused approach, a lens on things. And then your experience falls a bit secondary, which is maybe why HR is burnt out.
Yeah.
Back to our conversation in the beginning. But it was something that we needed to do and better balance, at least.
Yeah. And also, I'm sure identifying those moments that matter.
That's exactly what we did. Yeah. So in those, like, what are those moments we had to get right no matter what? Where you put the resource, you put the energy, maybe boost it with some kind of, tech help. But yeah, we had to identify all those things. And, again, depending on culture, they're different.
Yeah.
They're different. Like in the US, for instance, I don't know, this was mind blowing to me. I had never considered it. Like in the US, when you don't get the job, you want to know why. You want to get the feedback. And so we set up our processes to have really strong feedback loops for people. But then when I talk to colleagues in Japan, they're like, no. Like we don't work this way. Like, if you want to reject somebody, like, it would be really disrespectful to also give them all of this feedback at the same time. Some people prefer a WhatsApp message. They don't even want a phone call. So it was like, okay, clearly, we can't have a standard experience for everybody because you have these cultural nuances that are really hard to take into account.
Yeah, and those are the things that you just don't know, right? Unless you do the exploration and be really intentional about it as well. Because what you may think will be great for one person could be insulting for the other. And I love the idea of looking at it through the customer lens. Did that also then, that whole going through that product map then inform the partner of choice that you're going to invest in? Because then we're going to need an ATS that allows us to do the experience, like you mentioned, whether they get the role or not. We're investing in them so that maybe another point they may come back around, right? As well, and you continue to nurture that. Was this before that choice?
The choice of tech came after we made we went through the whole design thinking, work streams. So yes, we absolutely needed a partner who was going to be customer centric and also allowed us, the flexibility within like a CRM to talk to candidates the way that they needed to be talked to. And then, one customer that I didn't mention is our hiring managers. So candidates are important, but
that's true.
Hiring managers at the end of the day sell the job to the candidate. And, if you've got a bad experience set up for them, then, I mean, nobody wants to be part of it. You know, it's really hard to be a strategic partner if half of the partnership is disengaged. So you have to, I mean, we had to really, again, tweak our processes, think about how do we use technology to make their experience better, because currently they weren't in that loop at all. Everything was done via Teams, calls, emails, you know, so how can we create more transparency for them, which is something they really wanted. You know, how do we create a way for them to communicate that isn't necessarily, you know, weird messages in the middle of the night. So they're just as important when it comes to the hiring process, because I mean, yeah, they're half the equation.
Yeah. How did you, big challenge for our audience is how do you then go about navigating legacy systems? Because you're going to also maybe have different systems in different regions. It's a bit of a spider web, right?
It's a total spider web, and I don't know that I would take my advice on this now being in it again. But I'm like, just do it all, rip it all up. Let's go.
There's no easy way, right? People like try and systematically do it. You just got like, yeah.
There's so, you know, there's like so many interdependencies, and then you do this, but it impacts this process over here for someone. So, and then when you get to integrations with like your HCM software, you're just like, oh my God, like it's very complex. So our approach was like, let's do it all at once. Let's just literally rip the Band-Aid approach, but you're like still bleeding, you know? So I don't know, again, that I would recommend it. It's very hard and it's stressful on the like core project team to do this kind of stuff, but at least you start with a clean slate. And I cannot tell you.
Also, there's like less fatigue, right? Like it's like you don't get that long-term fatigue of like slowly.
Yeah, and our transformation's already a 5-year one, so it's just like
that's already long enough. It's true.
It's too long.
Yeah.
So yeah, but we are less than 90 days from go live now. So
wow! So I caught you right. I think okay. How are you feeling?
I am exhausted, but I'm very optimistic. And, you know, we also took the approach of like, this is going to be the minimum lovable product.
Oh, minimum lovable product. I love that.
Yeah. And then we will do the fancy stuff in wave 2 when we have room to breathe. And then also so we could live with the consequences of our choices, because things look one way on paper, you know, and then you have your vendor build it. And then you're like, well, that's not what I wanted.
Yeah.
And even though they built exactly to your specifications, you know, once you start to play and you put yourself in the candidate's shoes or the hiring manager's shoes, you're like, I wish we had done that differently.
Yeah.
So now, you know, design decisions are locked in, obviously, with such a tight timeline. And then we make adjustments as we go. So just accepting it's not going to be perfect.
That's just a reality, isn't it? And as long as you have a vendor that's a good partner, and I mean that in the truest sense, as opposed,
absolutely.
You know, I think, you know what, by now, everyone's asking, who are you working with? I could already hear myself listening to this episode being like, great guys, who are you working with? Can you tell us who your ATS is?
Yeah, I know.
Because we've been like holding off the entire time.
They are truly wonderful. And they have put up with a lot of like change requests and just questions everywhere. And the team is just so wonderful. So we're working with Aveture.
Nice. Yeah, nice.
For our ATS and our CRM.
Yeah.
And, you know, the beauty of it is that it's so customizable, but that is a double-edged sword because it's so customizable and you have to choose everything. And you almost have like too much freedom.
That's where the intentionality comes in, right? Of mapping it out. Otherwise you just kind of like kid in a candy shop, like, what do we do?
That's exactly it. You're just filling a bag and then you're like, I don't want all this at the end of the day.
What are the main core areas you're launching with? You mentioned you add in the Resonator. What's the main features?
Yeah, so we are, you know, we started thinking about, do we want different application workflows based on profile or internal applicants versus external applicants? So we start with like one core way of how we bring somebody in from application to hire. I know that we will need different ways for different parts of our population, like people who work in our warehouses or our plants, or even like the new software roles, you know, where that experience needs to be different than your traditional sales job. So, you know, that piece, we also replace our CRM at the same time. So it'll be nice to have this
So your
integrated
strategy earlier of
system.
ripping the band-aid off and doing it.
Yes. We replace video interview at the same time. We
Oh
replace our
wow.
multi-poster, programmatic. I mean, we do it all. And then wave 2 is more using enhancements, using AI, making the experience now custom to the person. And yeah, and I'm certain it will be undoing some of the things we put into wave 1 because we just didn't know any better.
Yeah, but I mean, things move so quickly that you wouldn't, and it's only until you test it that you really know. It's like
Yeah.
any company product I've ever launched. You ship it, your MVP, like you just said. Oh, what did you call it?
Minimum lovable product.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna start using that from now on.
Do it. Yeah.
I'll quote you in there. Don't worry.
Well, it's not mine. It's our head of HRIS, I think, that came up with this.
What's their name? What's their name?
Stephanie
Shout
Gross.
out to Stephanie. That is.
Yeah, shout out.
Yeah, Stephanie. Stephanie's gonna be like, I stole that from someone else.
Yeah, I'm sure she did.
Yeah, as well. Yeah, I mean, that's part of it. Put it out there, get feedback, and and then improve it along the way.
And we had 7 months to do it, so it's like you can't spend time debating and choosing and like window shopping. It's like you have to make decisions because the people that are going to build it for you, they need that stuff to build it for you.
I mean, quick question. One of the challenges for our audience is that they're inundated with different products and solutions. When it came down to the moment to make a decision, what made you choose Aveture over all of the other platforms who claim to do the same thing?
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, we had 2 in the running that I would have been happy either way. I think what made the difference for us was, well, a couple of things. The customer calls that we did it was people within our own networks in TA that we reached out to make sure, there's no bias. And so having those calls, there was a little bit of a preference for the way that Aveture works and the way that you can then, change things if you're not happy with your original build. And the responsiveness of the staff too, and the people that we worked with in the whole RFP process. I mean, they were phenomenal and they continue to be phenomenal. So, I think we've seen, and I saw this in a couple times, a few vendors of really great sales teams, great business development people, and then it kind of falls flat when you start to work with their own consultants. And that was not the case with Aveture.
Yeah.
It was consistent experience overall.
How are you going to measure, what KPIs have you put in place now to measure what good looks like once you launch?
Oh gosh, so I just came back from Liechtenstein last week because we had a workshop with our TA heads about this topic, this now custom reporting and how we want to define success. We were pretty limited with our current solution. And so we were measuring the basics, like time to hire, time to fill, okay, cool. That's one aspect of TA. But now, we have the possibility of a candidate survey, hiring manager survey. And I'm thinking of doing something where like Uber style, they rate each other, the TA partner and hiring manager, so we start to again build that bridge of partnership. So we're in the thick of defining what that means.
Yeah.
We've decided there's basically 3 buckets. Like we want to have like recruiter performance insights because we don't have that. Mm-hmm. And then we want to have insights on the requisitions and the jobs, and then insights on the candidates themselves. And so we've kind of formed, again, that very MVP view of what those KPIs are for us to be able to do our jobs and enhance the way we do our jobs better than last year.
Yeah.
But it's really like, the world is our oyster here with the reporting. And so we're still nailing that down. It's not a option not to use the system. So optionality is kind of like, I'm not going to even measure it.
Yeah.
But, for data quality is going to be the thing that I think really determines the adoption. So
100%.
Yeah. Like right now we have thousands of jobs sitting in our ATS that we're no longer doing anything with, and if we're starting with a clean slate, let's keep it clean. Much easier.
What does that handover look like? How does how long does that take? I know it's like you're like, Chris, how long is a bit of string? But like, like, is there a rough like? That's what my mum would always say to me. Yeah, how long is that?
We've been working on data migration topics for a month, and we'll continue to until November.
Okay.
As part of our plan. And the first choice is like, what do you want to migrate?
Yeah. Not gonna be
And
everything.
when you talk to your recruiters or your sourcers, it's everything. You're like, that's millions of data points.
Thanks,
right?
guys. Yeah.
How this is where I put my pragmatic hat on of like, what are you actually going to use, or when are you actually going to use that information? Like, at the end of the day, I feel like we need your name, your contact info, and have you been in a process with Hilti before? A CV would be great. And beyond that, I don't need recruiters' notes from 5 years ago or whatever the, data retention period is.
Because because also you're just putting garbage into a new system.
Exactly. And I'm so fearful of just starting day one already with garbage. And so we're being really militant about like, no, we're not doing that. Nope. And we've been very flexible on other things, but this I'm like, no, like if data quality starts on a bad foot, there is no recovering.
It's almost impossible. Yeah. As we look ahead, what you, besides celebrate, have you already got a plan to celebrate the launch?
No, I have not personally. I am sending like these boxes to each of the regions with fun stuff in them. Nice. Like, so when they make their first hire, it's like they break, the box or whatever.
Great. So you have thought about that. Nice.
Yeah, but not the core team. The core team, I'm like,
you
good,
should.
You're done.
You should. By the way, I'm the worst person at this. My team will tell you. Like, I'm like, we'll achieve an incredible milestone, and I'm like, what's next? Like the next day.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't take time to celebrate wins as much as I should. So you should definitely let it launch first, and if it doesn't crash and burn, go ahead. I'm joking. I'm playing. I'm sorry. I'll take it back. I'll take it back from the universe. I'll take it back.
Yeah. And also, we're launching in our most busy hiring period.
Oh, good. I mean, that clearly surely that wasn't intentional.
It was.
Really? So when you said you're going all in, like you said, like wrapping the Band-Aid, there was no Band-Aid. There's nothing to rip. You just said oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, no, we knew what we were doing. So
you're going to smash it.
You're going to pile the pain,
Yeah, get it over and done with. You're going to smash it. And then what as you look ahead though, before we wrap up, what are you most excited about as you look ahead?
I mean, personally me, I'm excited about just lifting my head out of this hole that I'm in right now of the technology part of TA. Because it's such an intense project, you have to be very like one track, at this moment. And we can do so much with our employer brand because in 2024, we also refreshed our EVP. We have a lot of great stuff we want to share with the world, with Hilti. And so that's the thing I'm most excited about. And also the same as a product team would do to come full circle is, using marketing in a way that, product teams use marketing and TA teams, at least at Hilti, haven't really, taken advantage of yet. And we have just like nothing but open road here for us. And I think we can do some really, really cool things with, recruitment marketing. So that's the thing I'm looking forward, being able to shift from the weekly deadlines and design decisions to something a bit more creative, we'll say.
Yeah, I should have asked this, and I'll be quick about it. But like, what did you do to make sure that you took care of yourself through this? Because we started with this, and I want to end with this because it's not easy, right? Is there any piece of advice or tips you could give to anyone in terms of how you sustain this? Because it's challenging.
It is challenging, and I'm not the best example, I think. And I do think that it trickles down to the team, definitely, and my preference is to always have something to do, right? So downtime is not, I don't want it. And so I think, again, that exhausts the people below me.
Yeah.
And I'm conscious of that. And we had ambitions that I really wanted to accomplish in a short amount of time. And it was like, I had to find people who were along for this ride. But I do always prioritize sleep and exercise. And so going to bed, at a reasonable time, because my wake ups are 4 a.m., start working on this
4
stuff and
a.m.
talking to people across the world.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and the times where I didn't take care of my sleep and my exercise, I mean, it's like, then I'm like crying on Teams because,
It catches up, man.
something went wrong and I can't control myself.
Yeah, I've been there. Don't worry. I mean, for me, it's like exercise, sleep, and like even a half decent diet. If you've got those 3 pillars dialed in, you're good, right?
Yeah. And I love cooking.
Yeah, but if you don't, even if you miss one, it kind of like you don't eat well, then you don't sleep well, then you don't exercise because you're too tired, and then it kind of just becomes a vicious cycle. And
Totally.
then I'm in that cycle right now. Actually, you kind of caught me in that, which is kind of just like I'm thinking about it right now. I need to get back because I'm just exhausting myself by going through it.
Which of the 3?
All of them, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean, we're launching our new AI product, which has been a year and a half in the making. I had a couple of 5 a.m., 4 a.m., not even early, as in I'm still awake. Like with the yeah. Literally yeah. So like we're they're coding, I'm testing and breaking, and we're really excited, by the way. Like this is not like I'm not awake stressed, I'm awake like excited. But then the next day, obviously, I'm like, my 7-year-old daughter runs in 2 hours later, says, "Daddy, ready for school?" And I'm like,
I know.
And I'm like,
you can't be the parent, that you want to be.
No, you can't be anything, to be. So, and I realized, I need to take, in order for me to be the best for everyone else around me, I need to prioritize me first. Whereas I used to think by prioritizing everyone, that was the thing. No, you need to take care of you first in order to show up as the best husband, right? As the best dad, as the best employer that I can be. And it's hard.
That transition happened for me too about like 5 years ago, and there was a lot of guilt. I think to work through, a couple years worth of guilt, but
yeah, like people always ask me like, "Oh, do you want to have another kid?" Like I got one 7-year-old, right? And I'm like, not until I know I can be present. Because I just, I was like not as present as I wanted to be, and it's like that kind of hurt a little bit. I was like, I miss some of those moments that I really shouldn't have for things that I at the time thought were important that were not important.
Oh, Chris, I get it. I don't remember the first year of my daughter's life, and it's something I live with forever.
Yeah. So now I'm kind of setting a bit more clearer boundaries about what that looks like. Like those times where I wouldn't even eat lunch. Like I have lunch scheduled every day in my calendar. Like,
same.
Because otherwise I'll just add another Zoom call. Like
lunch and exercise. Put it in your calendar.
I have it in the morning and then I have it at lunch. So I schedule all, and then people know if I'm going to pick up Robin from school or like take her to jiu-jitsu or tennis. Like it's a non-negotiable now. Like it's not like there's one more sales pitch we can squeeze in. No, it's not important as well. But listen, I appreciate you, Matt. This is going to be so interesting for everyone. Like so thank you so much for sharing the whole journey. I know it hasn't ended. So what we got to do, we're going to schedule in 6 months from now, part 2. and we'll see if you're still smiling. We'll see if you've still got some energy there. But thank you for being very open and honest and sharing the journey. And it's like super. There's so much great advice that you shared. So I appreciate you taking the time to come on.
Thank you. I had a lot of fun. It's my favorite thing to talk about.
All the best so by the time this is released, you'll be live. So good luck in advance. Congratulations in advance. Go celebrate in advance, and I'll chat to you soon. All right, thanks so much.
Okay. Thank you.